Hi friends, welcome to Homemaking on the Homestead. I am Crystal, and in today's video I am going to show you how to make bread. The recipe for the bread that you'll see me making is in the description box below, and it makes 2 loaves. I chose to make 1 loaf of bread and turn the other into sandwich rolls, which we use for dinner that night. If you don't have a mixer, don't worry. Because I'm going to show you how to do this without a mixer. If you have a mixer, go ahead and put it in the mixer and you can knead it that way, mix it up and knead it that way. Whatever you want to do is fine. So let's start baking some bread. The ingredients to make bread is pretty simple, and you're going to start by putting some nice warm water, 95 degrees or so, into a pan. Sprinkle your yeast in there, stir that up, and let it sit for about 10 minutes. When that time is up, you're going to add your oil, your honey, stir that around. I add my salt next, and I start with about 4 cups of flour. Then you're going to stir that around in the pan, and you're just going to keep stirring until you can't really stir much anymore. It gets very thick and it gets really hard to stir. And at that point, you're going to take another of the cups of flour and just start sprinkling some of it on the table. Take your dough out of the bowl, and even though it's kind of sticky, just start working the flour into the dough and begin kneading. And you're just going to continue to knead and add more flour and then knead and add more flour. In the end, I ended up using a total of 6 cups of flour. But as long as the dough is sticky, you just keep working it. In total, you're going to have to knead by hand about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. It takes about 5 minutes, or at least it took me about 5 minutes to work in all the flour that I needed. And once I had most of it all worked in, I just continued kneading for probably another 5 minutes. And the dough gets less sticky. You'll see less dough on the surface that you're kneading on, sticking to it at least, and it won't be sticking to your hands. It begins to get nice and smooth. When I was finally done kneading, the next step is to put your dough into a nicely oiled pan, which I somehow forgot to get that into the video. Let it rise for an hour. When that hour is done, punch the dough down. And then divide it in half. And I just kind of eye it and cut it in half. And then I work at kneading that to get the other air bubbles, any other air bubbles out of there. Then I greased my bread pan with a little bit of coconut oil. You could also use some spray type grease. And then I just knead that dough piece in a little bit more and kind of work it into the shape of a log and just kind of fit it into my pan. I set that aside to rise, and then I I greased my baking pan. I took the other loaf and I cut that into 8 pieces. Then I took each of those and just basically rolled them into a rope type of a shape, I guess I could say. And then I put those onto my greased baking pan. Once I had them all on the pan, I took a knife and just kind of scored the tops of them. And I also kind of squished them down a little bit to kind of flatten them out, since I was going for sandwich rolls. At that point, my bread had risen. It didn't rise a whole lot, but I had a large baking pan, and I baked it in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes or so. After the bread was done, I put the rolls in the oven, same temperature, and let them bake for about 25 minutes until they were all done. My loaves didn't turn out as golden brown as I would have liked, and I think that has to do with my oven. The temperatures are kind of off, and so I'm going to have to look into that and work on that a little bit. But that is the basics of how to make the bread, and I hope you found this video useful. If you did, could you please give it a thumbs up? That really helps me. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like my content, would you please consider subscribing? I really appreciate that. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you now next time. Bye-bye.